Hey everyone, Sycra here, and in this video I'm going to be designing Arsha, who's a character in the Space Waitress K universe, and she's going to be the manager slash captain of the restaurant slash ship, because they, so basically Kate is a waitress on board this mobile restaurant that is mobile for certain reasons that I'll explain at some point. But Arsha is her boss, and she is very tough. She's very tough. She is not good with her money, but she cares a lot about her ship and her crew, especially the waitresses and Kate in particular. So I wanted to design a character that felt tough and maybe even a bit mean, like not that nice of a person, but who still had a good heart, and her actions weren't, terrible, although she is very stern. So I originally came up with a few sketches for designs for her face, and I like working from faces first because, I don't know, I feel like if you can get the face and you can see the personality you want, then you've already solved more than half of your problem. And then it's just designing a body is, a little bit easier. And so my design process for the face is probably going to be in a future episode of Pointy Chins, and that's available to my patrons on Patreon. So look out for that. And meanwhile, what I'm doing here is more designing her body and designing her clothing. So what I always like to start with, and you might have seen I start with a very rough sketch, is basic shapes, like really, really fundamental shapes. Is this person blocky? Are they triangular? Are they more like soft and rounded? And for her, I definitely wanted something strong and stable looking. So I made her very wide, very heavy, and I don't know exactly what the shape is, kind of hexagonal. And repeating shapes is also something that's useful. Like if you draw a certain shape or design, to have that design repeat throughout the character, it creates consistency and makes the character feel a lot more cohesive. And here what I'm doing is more of a close-up view, just to get her personality more showing, and also to flesh out the face, because I hadn't really fleshed out the face too well before. And here I'm doing a quick back view, trying to figure out, what's she going to look like from behind, because it's always good to think about all the different views, not just one. And the logo on her back cape thing is the company she works for, which is the Yummy Company, and that's who pays for her ship and expenses and things. And so, yeah, shapes are very, very important. The big gestures and the big shapes. And I can't stress this enough, but it's probably something that people might hear, and think, yeah, shapes are important. Okay, moving on to rendering, because I want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to the little details, and I want to get to color and stuff. But I really want to stress, starting with strong basic shapes is the most important thing, I think, anyway, because that's your foundation. And if your shapes are really solid, then building upon that is going to be pretty easy. But if your shapes are wobbly, then you're getting into the turd polishing phase of add more stuff, do this, do that to make it look better. And so here I'm trying out different shapes for her outfit. I did come up with one design already, and now it's okay, well, what if I do this? So what if I make the cape kind of pointed? And here, what do her pants look like? I don't know. Going with this tough type of thing, it kind of reminded me of maybe something more Japanese, but I felt it's too, like the middle one right now, it's a bit too Japanese, and that's not really fitting with the world that's already been established just by Kay's design. So her design, the design of Arsha, has to fit in the same universe as Kay, but they are very different characters, very different personalities. So I didn't know, how much should I push it into a different world and how much should I keep it with Kay? Because I imagine personality-wise, Arsha probably has tattoos and she probably doesn't take very good care of her clothing. It's not what's in the forefront of her mind. So I was thinking, well, do I make her clothing more asymmetrical then? Do I make it more tattered? And it was a choice where it's like, okay, well, I could or I could not. And the advantage of doing that is like, well, okay, cool. You've got more of the character showing. And here I'm just doing a side view or an idea of what a side view might look like. But the downside is that you lose some of these very basic shapes. And I like it when you can tell who a character is just from their silhouette from really far away. So just looking at this person, her eyebrows are very unique. The way her eyes are deep, and just the shapes. It's like, to me, very different shape than Kay, for instance. And so I decided, okay, I'll go with that. And then if I do need to make it a bit more, I don't know, grungy or tattered or whatever, I can always do that later. But for now, it's more about just getting a basic, clean design that has a lot of shapes that are working and that I like. So you'll notice a ton of triangles everywhere. I figure everything is going to have some amount of triangles because that's just the way I work. And here what I'm doing is I'm inking in Clip Studio. So far this whole thing has been done in Clip Studio, and I'm still learning this program. So I can't say I had like a tremendous success, because later on I'm going to have a bit of difficulty because I didn't really understand what I was doing when it came to the coloring. But for now, I really do enjoy Clip Studio's inking tools, and you might know it better as Manga Studio. It's the same program. It's just called Clip Studio now, and in the Japanese version it was always called Clip Studio. And I made a special pen, which is just a modified mapping pen, and maybe, I don't know, if I get more experience with the program and I feel like I actually have something to share of value, I'll make a tutorial on something like how to make pens or how to customize things. But for now, it's basically just, fooling around with it and until it looks okay. So I wanted it to look sharp, so this pen has kind of a sharp look to it, but I still don't have full control over it, as you can see. And yeah, so this is a bit of an experiment in terms of like, well, what kind of inking style would I use? And I'm going for something clean, but with a focus on the occlusion shadows. So you can see at areas like her armpits and stuff, you get these darker shadows. But then if you look at her deltoid area, there's like a big empty space, and that's intentional. I want larger areas of rest where you're not really seeing anything, and smaller areas of detail. I just think designs are more elegant that way than having details all over the place, because it sort of kills it. If you have a ton of detail, and this is the coloring thing, like it looks easy and it's nice, and that's just awesome how you can do that. And the way to do that, it was explained in a video by a YouTuber called White Devil, and I'll include his link in the description. So you can see just how I did that, because yeah, it's pretty impressive. The problem is here. So here I'm doing a bunch of versions of different color ideas, and the first one I just gave her the exact same colors as Kay, just for fun. Like, okay, what would she look like if she had the exact colors of Kay? And now I'm just experimenting with different colors. But the method I use for this type of quick coloring relies heavily on anti-aliasing being off. And because I used Clip Studio for that initial coloring thing, it didn't exactly work quite right. And I'm sure I could probably figure out how to make it work. But because of that, I'm having to turn up the tolerance on my fill and use a paint bucket. Because you might have seen previously what I do is I select areas of color and then I use Control U, the hue and saturation sliders, and I just slide it until I find something that looks good. In this case, that didn't quite work out right. And if I select a color that's too close to another color, it will affect all the colors that are kind of similar. So this was not the best coloring, but I did try and get ideas anyway. And, let me know as usual in the comments after, which ones you liked, if you liked any, because maybe they all turned out pretty bad, and I might try and have another go at the colors later. But basically I try and think of just making sure the colors are all working with each other. I try to have things usually related in some way. So in this case, she's got browns, and then she's got blues, and the blues go into a bit more purple, a bit more green, and then she's got contrasting hair. But the hair isn't like pure, well, it's not on the screen now, but it wasn't pure yellow. It was sort of a desaturated yellow. And that's why it works. Because if I went pure yellow, it would have contrasted too much with the blue. And you have to keep this it's a very delicate balance when it comes to colors, keeping things fairly desaturated. And the more colorful you want it, it tends to work better if things are more desaturated. Here I had quite a bit of trouble trying to figure out what color could this be to make it work. And so I did end up going with the hue saturation sliders, and eventually came up with a color that's like, oh, okay, that's something. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying any of these colors are good, but there's something. And here, you might see that I'm reusing a few different types of schemes. I tend to have like a more blue one, a more pink one. Those are just the different types of combinations I like. And yeah, this one came out pretty weird, because you'll see, because of that tolerance issue, her teeth went red on the lower one, or like purple. And so when I tried to correct that, her lips also turned white, and that wasn't intentional, but it's like, let's just run with it. So here are the different versions. I hope you're enjoying the series, and I hope you like the character Arsha, and let me know again which color combinations are working for you or not working, and thanks for watching.